Welcome to the Elevate the Vibe podcast, bringing you juicy convos with thought leaders discussing the wild world of parenting. Hello, Vibe Hive. Welcome to the Elevate the Vibe podcast. I am your host, Katie Berlin, and with me is my co-host, hubby, Jason Berlin.
Howdly hodily, folks. I am Jason. I'm here today to bring you this wonderful podcast of knowledge. And today, our goal is to speak about... Wow, I already forgot, Shug.
All right, so today the topic that we're touching on is allowances, chores, responsibilities,
and all those other fun things that none of us want to do, except we want to get paid, but we don't want to do shit. So
our oldest son is 2.5 years old, so he does not receive an allowance right now. Let's just make that clear. He also does not have chores.
I've been slipping him fives here and there, Shug. I hate to tell you. He's been taking them to the candy man.
But he does have some responsibilities already as a 2.5-year-old. And as parents, we want to ensure that we are encouraging him to take care of his belongings, thinking about how he moves around in the world, interacts with the world, is a responsible human being, thoughtful of other people, thoughtful of like physical items, toys, clothing, whatever it may be. And we think that this will just continue to trickle down as he gets older to figure out, like, do we implement chores and do we give an allowance? Like, is that something that we'll do in the future, or does that come later on when it's time to actually work?
When I was growing up, before I could legally work, I would have to mow the lawn to get $10. I would have to make the bed, clean my room to get a couple bucks. Now, Katie, what did you have to do to the baseboards in your house to make some money?
So I did not earn an allowance when I was growing up. There was no such thing as earning an allowance. You just had responsibilities that you needed to take care of. I also was maybe a little bit borderline OCD with keeping things like clean and tidy. So for me, with my parents, they didn't struggle with me on that level because I was like hyper vigilant about all of my belongings. It was like a control issue. Like I was like, don't touch anything. Everything has to be in its place. My friends would mess with me when I was younger, and I would have like, maybe all my stuffed animals lined up in a specific way, and one of them would like turn one just a little bit, and I would notice, and I would like put it back, kind of thing. So overall, there wasn't really an opportunity to earn an allowance, but there were certain chores that my mom and stepdad had decided that if you wanted to help with, you could potentially earn a few extra, I would love to say dollars.
I was going to say it's not dollars.
It's not dollars. It's cents. So when I was growing up, there was like a little list if you wanted to try to earn extra money. And on the list, I don't remember everything, but my mom put on the list, if you would like to clean all of the baseboards in the entire house, you will get 50 cents.
2,000 square foot house about? How big?
I don't even remember.
That's a lot of baseboards.
It was a lot of baseboard. And I was like,
25 cents.
That shit. I'll go find money on the ground before. And I grew up in the middle of nowhere, so there's no sidewalk. You're going to find money.
You'd have to walk a lot of ways to find money on the ground where you grew up.
Yeah, there's no money to be found anywhere. But I would have better chance of doing woodwork out in my backyard and whittling something for, money before I'd be cleaning all the baseboards. And it's not that I was like an asshole kid that didn't want to clean. It was just like, what is that 50 cents going to get me? Like, why would I spend my time doing that? At a young age, I was already like, there's no value proposition here for me.
I feel like even sodas were like 75 cents then. So like you could clean all the baseboards in your house for 6 hours and you couldn't even get a soda.
Yeah, sodas were already like $1. Yeah, you're not like, and there was nowhere to get a soda where I grew up either. So there was no real purpose for participating in any of these extra chores. But still, like, if we were to make food in the kitchen, it was expected that you would clean it up. There was no such thing as have dirty dishes and leave them there. I mean, we started doing our laundry very young age, elementary school. As soon as you can reach the knobs, you're doing your own laundry. So there were already responsibilities. There just was no allowance associated with them. And then when I was old enough to babysit, this is mom, I love you,
Oh
but like,
man, we're going here.
yeah, when I was old enough to babysit, my mom decided that she would post at a local grocery store a little flyer that I would babysit kids for $2 an hour. It doesn't matter how many kids a family had.
This was in the mid '90s too, so adjusted for inflation, I think that's about $4 an hour
This
now.
was in the late 90s,
Yeah,
not
late
mid.
90s, late '90s,
Late
yeah.
90s, 2000s.
2000s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
late 90s,
So
2000s.
adjusted for inflation, maybe that's $5 an hour now, not even.
No, probably $3.
I'm no economist. Go on.
So she would post this. So of course I would get so many people calling me because most kids my age, it's like $7 to $10 an hour. So for me to go and work my ass off for 8 hours watching numerous kids as like a 12-year-old and walk away with $16, and I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's 8 hours of work right there.
I would be like, Mom, no. Like, what?
But she kept doing it.
She kept doing it and people kept calling me, and I didn't have a phone then. I was 12, it was a different time, but like, no, this is not acceptable. Like, you can't pawn me off. This is not cool. So until I could start working on my own, which was at 14, like legally, that was what I was subjected to growing up. Now, sure, it's not horrible, but still, when it comes to 2020 and how we're raising our children now, I understand that my child probably is not going to clean baseboards in my home and earn 50 cents and think that that's something that is appropriate.
75 should be good, yeah.
Yeah, it might be like 66, something like that.
Yes.
So we think about this as our children are growing up, when do you begin to give them additional responsibilities outside of their typical belongings? Like, what else can they participate in? So, for example, our child's 2.5. If he spills something on the floor, I have ingrained in him that we have these reusable like washcloths. I bought them on Amazon, or dish towels, or like it's like a paper towel, but it's a cloth. He will go into a drawer. They're in a place where he can reach. He can get one out and he can clean up something that he spilled, and he then takes it over into our office near where you can enter the garage where our washer and dryer is located, and he puts that dirty cloth by the garage door. So he already knows, like, if I spill something, I need to clean it up.
Cause and effect. He's got it.
Yeah, it's like, no, even though I'm your parent, I'm not cleaning up your mess like if you did that on purpose kind of scenario.
Now, aligned with chores, responsibilities, and allowances, I do want to know what the Vibe Hive has to say about how much is too much as far as chores and responsibilities. Because I remember going to a friend's house growing up, and his mom had a poster board. He had 2 brothers. His mom had a poster board with every single chore in the house. I think there was like a dollar or a cent amount attached to each chore. Maybe it was 10 cents or something. And he had to finish all of his chores before he could hang out. And that was a huge poster board with about 30 things. And I remember, like, I didn't have that. But every time I go to his house, I was like, damn, man, he's got so much to do before he can play Nintendo with me. Like, that's not cool. And he's got an incredible work ethic now. He's, like, brilliant, and he's extremely organized. And I'm like, well, maybe that really set him up for success. Maybe mama's, strict sort of ways with him really helped. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is the balance. Like, what is too much? What is too little? And what are some good reward systems? Is it just a gold star? Is it, $1? Is it like TV time? Like, what are the sort of rewards that you would consider for allowances or chores? Or are you like, no allowance, no nothing? You just work and you get nothing. That's a little harsh, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think that is kind of appropriate. You work and you get nothing, because in real life, you have to take care of your home. Not saying that you can't have people come in to help, like plumbers or a cleaning crew or something like that. But I would rather instill in my child that they can use their brain in certain ways to use their creativity to make money, versus just you do this task and you get paid. It's almost like more of an entrepreneurial mindset of like, see a problem, find a solution. Now, I know that our child is young. We have one on the way. But to me, there's a mindset shift versus chores. I don't know if chores also were like a 90s thing. I don't even know if that's something that like kids do now.
I think we just don't have kids that are old enough that we want them to do something productive in the house instead of just like sitting around or just like making giant messes. I think it's part of just keeping them orderly and trying to keep the house in some semblance of order. I feel like that's where it comes from, because my buddy's house, like they were 3 kids, they were all like a year apart. So I could only imagine a 5, a 6, and a 7-year-old, just you get home from school and everything that was in the house is all on the floor, giant messes, giant everything, plates everywhere in the sink, So I imagine that was created to just restore some sort of order.
But like I grew up in a family where with my mom and my stepdad where there were 5 of us kids, and my home was not like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying his was. I'm just saying that that's just a different way that they did it. So
Right.
I'm just wondering what the audience would have to say about what are the different ways you can do it. And yeah, you want to think outside the box to make money, but like for a 9-year-old, like who just needs to learn how to pick up after himself and sweep the floors and stuff, like
I think there's a difference between like the thought process of earning an allowance versus just being responsible for your belongings. Yeah. Like I think there's just like 2 different thought processes.
I don't feel like you should be given an allowance. Like I don't think you should just be like, okay, well it's the end of the week, here's your $10. It's like, no, you got to earn that, or you got to figure out something else to do to make money, like you're saying.
I'll be like, detail my car.
Yeah, holy shit. That shit's normally like $75 for like a half an hour. It's like, that kid can do that. I'll give him $50.
Yeah.
Or 5.
Yeah, I'll feed them.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. All right, Vibe Hype. So we want to kick it out to you. Let us know on our Instagram post. How do you handle this? What is your thought process? Of course, it'll be different depending on the age of your child, but we'd love to hear from you. And as always, thank you for joining us to elevate the vibe.
We'd love to know what you think.